So I'm going to be doing a new series called The Mysterious Manhunt. This is where I want to look at potential candidates on who this mysterious figure could be from one of the trailers of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I'm going to start off with the most obvious character who everybody seems to think it is, who, including myself, who I'm pretty sold on this who it could be. We're going to start with Glenn Lodbrok. If you're not familiar, this character is from Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, the mobile game that is recently available on Steam. So if you have a PC and want to play it on Steam, which is the superior way to play it, I feel like it's much better, much smoother, check it out on Steam. There's a whole brand new story that explains his backstory, along with Matt and Lucia, his two team members, and even a young Sephiroth. So we're going to discuss some pros and cons as to why this character may or may not be this mysterious figure. If you're interested in this series and have any suggestions on who you think it could be sure to subscribe and let me know your suggestion down below in the comments. So let's begin with the pros, or the reasons I think this hooded figure could be Glenn. They have similar facial features. We don't really see much of the face, but given what we do see of Glenn and this mysterious figure, they have the same chin and the same little goatee type facial feature. That's pretty much all I have to go by at the moment. It could be this. The only thing is the mysterious hooded figure is a bit thicker and it's fuller. The hair is fuller, so there's that. But again, the hooded figure appears years after the events of Ever Crisis and potentially the scene where we see the hooded Glenn against the Sephiroth who's trying to get a hold of Genesis. This scene seems to take place a little bit before the ending of Crisis Core, because Sephiroth is trying to get a hold of Genesis. This is before Sephiroth kind of goes crazy. So the fullness of the beard in the Rebirth trailer could just be an aged Glenn, and things have just, you know, obviously his face has changed. Another reason for this being Glenn is that he could have a secret hatred for Shinra / Rufus. In Ever Crisis, I haven't caught up with the story yet, it's been a little bit, but it seems that Glenn has a bit of like hesitancy towards Shinra and everything, because in Ever Crisis, a bit of spoilers ahead if you don't want to know the story of Ever Crisis, but in the story of Ever Crisis, you go to this island and you're looking for a good spot to put a Maka reactor. You come across this kid, but he seems to almost feel sorry and sad for what's going on and what has to be done to this location, because they're there to take out any kind of resistance they have toward I think they call it the Redorans, and he seems to kind of like be hesitant to do that. But of course he goes through it and does it because it's his job and he's a soldier and everything like that. So, but it just seems like there's a bit of hesitancy to do all that stuff. So he could have some kind of like resentment towards Shinra, toward everything that kind of happens here and in the story going forward. Again, I don't think the story's finished yet, and I haven't finished too much of it. But that's what it seems like at the moment. And another reason I think this could be Glenn is that the hooded figure in the Rebirth trailer could be hunting down Sephiroth because of what Sephiroth did to his team, Matt and Lucia, at some point in the story. This, as far as I know, has not been shown at all in Ever Crisis to this point. But in one of the trailers for Ever Crisis, you see Sephiroth and the young kid, the Redoran kid. So what I think could happen is that by the end of Ever Crisis, Sephiroth is going to be faced with a choice. Side with Shinra and murder all these Redorans and take over the land so they can put the Maka reactor there, or side with Glenn, save Matt and Lucia, who are working with the Redorans to fight off Shinra, maybe try to relocate and get out of there so they all don't die by Shinra. What I think could happen is I think Sephiroth might side with Shinra and go through with it and kill the kid and kill all the Redorans, potentially even kill Matt and Lucia, maybe even almost kill Glenn. And this causes Glenn to go on a hunt, years searching for Sephiroth to take him out and get his revenge on Sephiroth for his friends and the Redorans that Sephiroth killed and that Glenn watched him kill. So I think that's the big reason I think this hooded figure could be Glenn. And there's two reasons why I think this might not be Glenn. With Lodbrok being his surname, this name is of Old Norse origin and its meaning is uncertain. And I broke this down in a previous video. I'll link it so you guys can check it out because it's super interesting. And you can kind of tell from his last name, and he has a necklace on that seems to be a dragon amulet, and the dragon amulet seems to tie in with the Old Norse mythology of his last name. With Lodbrok being the surname, it comes from a Viking figure and Scandinavian king named Ragnar Lodbrok. This guy was insane. He raided villages and eventually met his demise in a death pit full of venomous snakes. And this kind of seems to be where Sephiroth and him meet up in the rainy scene of Glenn in the cloak. This seems to be the pit that Sephiroth is in that's surrounded by behemoths. In that little shot we see of them in the rain, where he's trying to get a hold of where Sephiroth's trying to get a hold of Genesis. So it kind of feels like that by the end of either Ever Crisis, or maybe it seems that by the end of Ever Crisis, Glenn could meet his demise in this pit of behemoths by Sephiroth. Sephiroth could kill him, and I think that could also be a possibility. And if things don't play out like I think they do at the end of the game, Glenn could just remain loyal to Shinra and Sephiroth, because he does have a certain affinity toward Sephiroth, because he says he has like some cyborg instincts, I believe. Sephiroth takes it to heart, and Glenn realizes that what he said hurt Sephiroth's feelings, and then he later hugs him and says he's sorry, apologizes for it and stuff like that, and he's not some kind of cyborg. They have that whole thing. So if the Ever Crisis story goes that Sephiroth, Glenn, and his crew, Matt and Lucia, end up doing everything properly and get the Mako reactor built on the Redoran island, maybe he still is good with Shinra, and maybe he's hired by Shinra to hunt down Sephiroth for the Nibelheim incident. But those are the pros and cons of it being Glenn and it not being Glenn. So who do you think this hooded man could be? Do you think it could be Glenn? Could it be Reeve? Could it be even Roche? I've even seen people say it could be people from the Before Crisis story. Fujito, I believe. So we'll be looking into all this stuff. I'll be going over all these people and giving their pros and cons for each one. But let me know who you think it is below. While you're down there, be sure to like the video if you like the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.